Hey lovelies, it's Heather here. I'm gonna make this video. I kind of hate to right now because I feel a little rushed, but at the same time, I want to. I feel drawn to. Um, so the last video that I made that I was talking about me and my grandmother, how we got into it, and we got into bickering, and I took the chair, slammed it up against the table, and I went back to my bedroom, and she called the cops on me, or somebody did, or she talked to somebody that called the cops on me. Either way, cops came out. Ever since then, I've just been staying back in this room and minding my own business and trying to take care of myself and like detaching completely from her as much as possible because she drained so much out of me. But anyways, so on top of all that going on, then my cat got sick. And he was fixing to turn 11 at the time. He was a few days away from it. And he ended up getting sick. And I don't know for sure what was going on with him because my grandmother was buying his cat food there for a while. And she kept getting the wrong kind. And he wasn't coughing up his hairball like he normally does every, I don't know, month or 6 weeks. He throws up like one hairball. And I noticed that he hadn't. But anyways, I thought he just had a hairball hung, and he'd be alright once we got him back on his regular food. So, in March, she got the right food. At the beginning of the month, she got the proper food for him that he's always ate. And we gave it to him and everything. And on, I think it was March 21st, he was having a hard time breathing, I noticed. And on March 22nd, he was having a hard time breathing. And at about 3 a.m., I went and woke up my grandmother and was like, hey, I think my cat's fixing to die. I'm not certain. I was like, but can you tell my daughter? Because my daughter has been living with my parents for almost 2.5 years now. And this was a cat that I asked her, on her third birthday, I was like, do you want a cat or a puppy? And she's like, I want a cat. And I was like, okay. And so I gave her a cat, I let her pick the cat and everything. And we had many kittens, as a matter of fact, at the house. This is when we all, me and my daughter, we lived with my parents when she was a, little baby, if you will, or a toddler. And, or actually, we'd been moved out about a few months, I think. Or no, that's right. We didn't move here until she was like 3, I think, or a little before she turned 3. No, she was 3 already. Okay, that's right. And we were here while she was 4 and 5. But anyways, so I let her, pick that she wanted to keep a cat, and so it did. And so whenever she went and she decided, that, she basically, was fed up with me because she was fed up with our life because it's not good enough for her, and whatever and everything. I was like, do you want your pets? And at that time, we had 3 dogs and 2 cats. Well, one of our dogs went missing. He's been missing for over a year now. And one of our cats, the cat that I do have right now, actually originally was my mother's cat. And my father kicked the cat out, and me and my daughter took the cat in. And I don't mean he just put it outside. No, he took it to the plant where he worked, dropped it off, left it for like 3 days, and we begged to go out there, me and my daughter, especially my daughter. We went out there and we found him in a drainage ditch, and he was just sitting there, and he has one eye, and so here's this poor little thing. And anyways, so we took him, and so now he's my cat. And so anyways, my kid, just like she left the mass majority of her toys and belongings and everything. And I have a feeling that, it may not be, so much her because she's a kid and she don't have control over things like that. But even at that, my parents should have put their ego and pride aside within the first year of her living over there and been like, let's go get your stuff. Let's go get your toys and your clothes and your pets and your this and your that. And so anyways, I wrote several times, do you even care about your pets? Do you want your pets? And she would just be real hateful and stuff whenever she was first living over there for the first year and a half. And so I was just like, okay, well, here I am now, I had 3 dogs and 2 cats, and then one of the dogs went missing. I was like, well, I got 2 dogs and 2 cats, and I was like, okay. But anyway, so the cat got sick, and I told my grandmother that way she could go and tell my daughter, because, he's been with the family, and even though my daughter's been gone, my kid's known him about 9 years, and my niece even knew him as the first cat, since she was a baby. He's the cat that made her want to have a cat. And so anyways, sorry, I know I keep looking at myself or the timer or anything else instead of the actual camera lens. But you'll notice I do that anyways. But anyways, so I told my grandmother that, at 3 a.m., and I was like, by the way, relay the message, if you will, to my daughter, because my daughter's had me blocked. She don't talk to me. She talked to me 3 or 4 times within the past year. We have no contact, and that's all because of my parents, because they got mad because I went no contact with them. And so they're trying to punish me by, not necessarily, I'm not saying that they're forcing my daughter to be no contact with me, but I'm sure that they applaud it, I guess you could say. They're like, yay, we're winning her over, type, mentality. But, so anyways, it's just been a process. But anyways, so I tell my grandmother hops up out of bed, she's like, can I see him, can I see him, can I see him, in this panic, and I'm like, well, there's nothing to see, he's just having a hard time breathing. And so she came back to the door, and he was sitting on the bed, and then he hopped down, and then she's like, have you fed him anything, what did you feed him? And she was trying to blame me, and I was like, I fed him some tuna, since I noticed he's having a hard time breathing yesterday, because he usually eats dry food, and I was like, and the tuna will help, it's moist, and I said, I fed him some tuna, and she goes, is it old? And I thought she meant have you had it, or did you buy it recently? And I didn't buy it, recently, but it was still within date, it was maybe a month or 2 old, but I thought that that's what she meant, and so I was like, well, yeah, it's old, I didn't go out and buy it yesterday, and she's like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, and then when she said that, I was just like, oh my God, I know what she's thinking of me, and sure enough, she said it, she said, you're not supposed to feed them tuna out of a can when the can's done been opened and this and that, and I was like, I know this, I'm not saying that, I didn't do that. And so anyway, she's like, well, I don't know what to do, type. And I was just like, take your over-excitement back into your rest of your house, I can't, And, so anyways, she walked off when I woke up that morning, because I dozed. I stayed up watching him all night to make sure that he kept breathing and everything, and he was acting fairly normal, so I was like, it just has to be a hairball. That's all it is, and I'll have to take him to the vet and get him some hairball medicine, or better yet, I can go to the store if they still sell it like they used to. For my other cat, there was this specific type of gooey molasses hairball type medicine, and I was like, we'll figure it out, that's what I was thinking. But anyway, so I woke up from dozing as best as I could that morning, and she's like, I'll take him to the, if you let your parents drive him to the vet, I'll pay for it. And I was like, okay, sure, fine, thanks, or whatever. And she's like, and if he dies, I'll pay. I mean, she's done, and I was just like, and she's like, and if he dies, I'll pay for him to be cremated. Ooh. Like, negative Nancy. But anyways, so then, my daughter unblocks me, and my daughter writes me, and she says, can we take Stevie to the vet? And I said, well, of course. So, they come to pick him up. Well, the thing is even when they come to pick him up and everything, I'm catching attitude, they're like, put him out on the porch, and I'm like, no. And they're like, put him in his cage and put him out on the porch, and I'm like, no, basically. I mean, our conversation didn't go exactly as I'm going to say it because I'm trying to shorten it. But I'm like, no. And I'm like, listen, he's sick. He don't feel good. He hasn't seen any of y'all in, Jesus, I don't know. Last time my daughter even seen him was in November of 2018. And so I was like, I think that's right. Was it 2018 or not? Yeah, it was 2018. And I was like, no, I'm not just gonna abandon him on the porch and have him petrified just while he's waiting for 10 minutes or 30 minutes for y'all to drive up. I was like, y'all let me know when you get here. Because I know my mom, we don't want to see you, and all this mentality. And so anyways, I was like, no, but whenever you pull up, just stay in the car, and I'll bring him out, and I'll set him on the table out there in his cage, and then I'll go in the house, and then y'all can come in on the porch and get him. So that's what I did, but boy, they were mad, you could tell they was mad and everything. Well, I didn't say nothing, they didn't say nothing, nothing was said, nobody crossed paths or anything, and the cat was traded off. And so I'm talking to my daughter in text messages, and I'm like, hey, how's he doing? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Asking her as many questions as, she'll even answer. And then I notice it's getting later and later and later and more, 2 hours have passed, 3 hours have passed, 4 hours have passed. And I know by the way she's talking that they're not up at the vet anymore, or that they're not in that vicinity. And so I'm just like, what the heck is going, and so I'm like, so when are you bringing him home? I think I said to her, something along that line. And she's like, we're going to keep him here for a little bit because, Mamaw smokes in the house, which is my grandmother that I live with. And, since he's having a hard time breathing, the vet said that it would be best for him to be over here, and, that's what we're gonna do. I mean, that's the thing too, is like to talk to me that way. We're gonna do this with your cat. Because I'm sorry, you abandoned him. He's my cat. And so anyways, I'm just like, don't get mad about it, Heather, in the back of my mind. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's understandable, and I'm glad that, he's in a smoke-free environment for a little while he's having a hard time breathing. And I'm glad you get to spend time with him, because, I mean, he is old. He's fixing to, turn 11, with, I thought 12 at the time, because we've gotten to fights, me and my grandmother and my mom back in the day when I first moved in here the first time, and I was like, he's only 5 months old, and my grandmother's like, no, that cat has to be over a year old. And I was like, I was there when he was born, and they're like, no, he has to be over a year old, he's just too big. And so anyways, I thought he was turning 12, but he was actually turning 11 in a few days. So, my kid, 3 days later, I've asked her, like, every day, or maybe the last 2 days, I'm like, so, when are you bringing him home? And she wouldn't answer. Well, finally she answered. It's like, finally she got irritated enough, I guess you could say. that she answered. And I wasn't trying to irritate her, but my God, I want you to respect me enough to talk to me when I'm asking you a question about my cat, that I did not have to let you take him to the vet. And I did not have to even accept that you're going to be the one to supposedly pay the vet bill. And then that's the thing, too, that I found out, is they're all about the vet bill and the money, and they're trying to act like they're better than me. And they even brought his cage back and went out and bought him a new cage, because his cage has one piece of plastic missing off the front of it, and it's, like old, dusty-ish looking, because the rain that's got to it. But I cleaned it and everything before I put him in it, and the cage door has a little bit of rust on it. But I mean, hell, it's been sitting out in storage. He hardly has any problems, he hardly has to go to the vet for anything. And that's all my animals, and that's all their animals too. And that's the thing too, is in this year that I've been living here, my grandmother has done paid at least one vet bill for my parents. And then that's the thing too, is they took him to the vet, and the vet was like, well, we need to do an x-ray to see why he's having a hard time breathing. He has fluid around his heart or his lungs, we need to see what's going on with him. And they couldn't afford it. So they went the cheaper route. So don't come at me all high and mighty with your damn attitude. This is my thought processes. But don't come at me all high and mighty with your damn attitude of money and you're better than me when you're in the same damn boat that I'm in. And then I didn't ask you to pay for it. And I didn't even ask my grandmother to pay for it. But my grandmother offered and you offered. And since you're the one driving the cat to the vet because you're offering to, well, I can't be there to be like, okay, you drove him, but now you've got to use her card to use her money, because you're not going to listen to me, because you have no respect for me. I know you don't. And I wish to God I would have listened to myself about that. I really, 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 really do. But anyways, if somebody would have stood my grandmother over here with a card and my parents over here with a card, and said, who do you want to pay for your cat to go to the vet? It would be my grandmother. And so anyways, sorry, I'm just really still very kind of raw angry about it, and I'm trying my best not to be, and I'm like devastated, and I've bawled my eyes out, and then the cops couldn't help me, and anyways, so finally after 3 days, and I looked back because my grandmother said that my mom smarted off and said that I was blowing my daughter's phone up. And I took screenshots of all of our messages, and it was 77 screenshots. So I'll admit, I was doing a lot of talking. I was. I'm a big talker. And this is my kid, for crying out loud, that I haven't spoke to except for 3 times or 4 times within the past year. So excuse me if I'm excited to be able to speak with her, and I can't refrain my excitement, and she never once texts me and says, I'm busy, or could you leave me alone, or you're getting on my nerves. She never said anything like that. All of her replies were just like, yeah, I'm bored, type mentality, like, yeah, I guess I'll answer you because I'm bored and I'm not doing anything, And so anyways, after 3 days, my kid, of me asking when she's bringing him back, I'm like, listen, I want him, because I'm feeling like the negativity. And so I'm just like, listen, I want him back by Thursday. And I was like, so there, and she's like, well, I hadn't answered you about us bringing him back because I have no idea when we're bringing him back. And so I wrote her back and I was like, listen here, I was like, it doesn't matter what your idea is of bringing him back. He's my cat. You're bringing him back when I say, or at least within the realm of time of what I say, because for starters, I only agreed to let you keep him for a little bit. For seconds, you didn't even ask me properly, with respect, ahead of time. You just assumed you could take him to your home. And for thirds, you left him. You left him here with me. Just like you left everything. Just like you left all your other pets. And I'm not sitting here being an asshole and being like, oh, you left them like day one, and so you can never have your stuff. Don't come and get it. No, instead I was texting my kid like for the first year and a half of her being gone, and I was like, I'd really like for you to take your pets, at least, so that way I can go out and maybe work and actually pay the child support that, I owe, so that way, I can work 2 and 3 jobs, so that way I don't have to worry about, oh, I can only work 1 job because I got to get home because I got to take care of pets, and so anyways, I was like, it would help us both out, but I don't want them over there because I have literally seen my father. I'm not shitting you. I'm not joking. It's not funny. It's not a joke. I have seen this man kill one of my dogs. I have seen him behead one of my hamsters. And there's a whole lot of more accidental, antifreeze poisoning and froze to death in the middle of the night, and yet the cages were wet, like somebody might have sprayed them with a water hose type situations all throughout my childhood. And this man, the cat that I have, the other cat that I have named Tiger, that's here with me, but he stays outside because Stevie's my first cat and my elder, and he's always been in. And Tiger has this infection eye disease thing that if him and Stevie share the same food and water bowl and litter box, he can pass it to Stevie. So Tiger stays outside. But Tiger was originally my mom's cat. Well, a few years ago, my mom got put in the hospital because she needed her gallbladder removed. Well, while she was in there, my dad, and that's the thing too, is this cat lived in a 8 by 16 bathroom, I guess, at the biggest. I don't even think it's that big. But anyways, he lived in a bathroom the whole time that they had him for like the first 1.5, 2 years of his life. Well, anyways, whenever my mom got sick and went to the hospital and had to have gallbladder surgery, my dad was taking care of the cat, but he didn't want to take care of the cat because he didn't want to change the litter box and all that. So he went to go try to throw the cat outside. Well, this is like the master bathroom that the cat was in. And so anyways, my dad opened the door and tried to chase the cat out. And then I guess he felt bad because he got the cat out at one point in time. He pulled the cat. The cat was asleep, or not asleep. The cat was running from my dad. I know this much. The cat ran from my dad and got up under the tire area of the bed of the truck, of the back end of the truck that they had outside. And my dad got mad and put the cat back in the house, but whenever he grabbed the cat or whatever, he yanked him off of it so forcibly that it split the skin between his paws on his back foot, like on 2 of his, claws or whatever, his fingers, whatever you want to call them. And so they did that, and I didn't even know that had happened. Then I went over one day because my dad apparently took the cat back in, and I didn't know nothing was wrong with the cat. And anyways, my dad's like, hey, come get this cat, or come take care of it for me. And so I did. And then he's like, yeah, it got out and it's loose in the house and it's behind the couch. And I can't get it because the other day it got loose. He tried to act like it accidentally got loose outside and that he had to rip it, and that's when he told me that he, jerked him out from underneath the truck. And so anyways, he's like, get him out from behind the couch. Well, I just went in there, and literally I was there 5 minutes, and I was like, Tiger, here, kitty, kitty, here, baby, here, kitty, kitty, and he come and jumped on my lap, and I was like, my dad just, and so I just took and put him back in the bathroom. I didn't think to look him over or see if he was hurt or anything, because, I had to go to work. I had my own apartment. I had my kid to take care of. I had my own stuff to do. And my dad called and asked for a favor, and that was for me to come over while my mom was in the hospital and get the cat from back behind the couch. So I did. Well, then my dad even called me a bitch because I got the cat out so fast. Like, I got the cat out and I went and shut him back in the bathroom, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back home. I literally lived like maybe 4 miles at the most from my parents. I was like, okay, I'm ready to go home. I got the cat. He's back in the bathroom. I changed his litter box. I gave him fresh food and water. Like, let's go. And my dad's like, bitch. And whenever he said that, I went outside and stood outside. And I just stood there. And then he's like, oh, you could come in and hang out for a little while. And I was like, no, I don't think I will. Especially, and I kind of mumbled it. I was like, especially if somebody's going to call me a bitch whenever they call me. I got to go to work. I got to get ready for work. My mom's in the hospital, and I come to get the cat, And so anyways, he took me on home. But he wasn't, too thrilled about it. Well, then, in the next few days, back probably about 4 or 5 days later, I was up at the hospital visiting my mom, and we all thought she's gonna die and everything, and my dad mentioned that he threw the cat out. And then he mentioned that not only did he throw the cat out, but he took the cat back to where he found it, which was at his plant where he worked, and he threw him out. And so me and my daughter are standing there. My daughter almost goes into crying fit because she's been over at my parents and helped my mom and basically learn how to properly bathe a cat if you're going to bathe a cat. And so anyways, all this is going on and everything. We're up there at the hospital, and my dad says that. My kid's about to cry. We get home, and for 2 days, that's all my kid says. The cat, the cat, the cat, the cat, the cat, the cat, the cat. And I'm like, Ava, he was born outside for starters. They found him as a stray. And I'm like, I hope he's okay. If I had a car, we'd drive out there and see. But I'm not going to spend $30 on a cab to go out and see about a cat when I can't even spend $30 on a cab to go do anything that I else need to that, is like not a desperate need, but like, considered a kind of sort of need. Like, I'd like to have macaroni and cheese tonight, but there's no cheese in the house. Let me go buy some cheese, or whatever. And so anyways, I'm like, there's no way that, I'm doing that. And so I was like, get on the phone with your grandmother, my mama, that I live with now. And I was like, tell her to tell her son. I was like, because this is the only way it's going to work. I said, because you get me involved and the answer's no, honey. I said, because they've always been no people to me. My mom and my dad, and even my grandmother to a degree. But especially my mom and dad, the answer's always no. And so anyways, I was just like, well, and even at that, I don't literally mean it's always been no. But when it comes to what I actually am needing done that will benefit me, my life, or my situation or anything like that, the answer's always no. Everything has to be beneficial to everybody, especially them ahead of me all the time, and then they'll say yes to it. But anyways, so I was like, get on the phone with your grandmother, and talk to her to tell her son to come pick us up. And if he'll come pick us up, then we'll stay out there and we'll look for the cat. And he can come back, we'll stay out there for like 3 to 5 hours, in the parking lot, hollering and looking for him. And if we find him, we'll bring him home. I'll pay the pet deposit and he'll be our cat. And so that's what I did. And so anyways, I got their cat now, Tiger. Well, now they're trying to keep my damn cat because they took it to the vet and they said, we're going to keep it for a bit. And my kid, she was putting off about not telling me when she was going to bring it back. Stevie, when she wasn't, and here's his birthday coming up. And this cat has been with me every day, literally every day since he was born. I mean, every day. I'm not even shitting you. I was there and watched his mother give birth to him and his brother Samson. And his mother, I even named. My mom, my mom's like, oh, I'm going to keep this kitten because it's pretty. And I was like, that's the type of person you are, in the back of my head whenever that kitten was born. And she's like, I don't know what to name her. I think I might name her Sarah. I think I might name her this. I think I might name her that. I think you know, and she just kept on for like weeks. And the kitten was like a month or 6 weeks old. And I had done kind of started calling her Snug anyways, because she has this little, or she had this little white spot on her nose and the little like kiss mark, the little white on her lip. And her face was just real kind of scrunched in or drawn in because she was like Siamese looking. So it was like, the gray and the real dark, black or whatever. And I was like, Snug, And so anyways, my mom heard me say it one day. I was like, come here, Snug, whenever I was going to feed the cats, and Snug came running. And my mom goes, what did you call her? And I was like, Snug. And she's like, oh, that's a good name. I actually like that. That's unique. I've never heard that. And she's like, how do you spell it? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like, Snoog, I guess. And I'm like, Snug, And so she's like, oh, I like that, though. That's unique. And I was like, well, it's because of her little, face. But anyways, my mom was asleep in bed whenever her cat was, giving birth. And I was sitting in the laundry room in the floor with a basket and a box and litter box and blankets and towels and, well, not blankets, but like 2 towels. And I sat there and watched her give birth. And as a matter of fact, one of the kittens was coming out breech. And she only had 2 kittens because she was so small. She was too young to be having a litter and everything anyways. But anyways, he started to come out breech. And I don't even know how the hell I did it, but I was as gentle as I could be. And so anyways, I basically, flipped the cat around. I don't want to go into too many details, but I was like, I seen like the hind legs start to come out, and I was like, oh God, this might break their neck, and everything. And so anyways, I kept kind of, slowly, over a 15 or 10 minute period, because she wasn't pushing real hard, just trying to relax her and anyways and get the kitten flipped. And I remember at one point in time I did that, and whenever I did that, and then I felt them kind of turn this way, and I did it again, and then I felt that they were turning the right way, and I was like, I think they got it, But so anyways, the boys were born, and we had Stevie and Samson. And so anyways, my daughter decided to keep Stevie, and so that's who we kept and everything. And so Stevie's was our cat, but then my daughter left, and so Stevie was my cat, just like Una's my dog, and Clarabelle and Bonsai and Tiger. And all these pets are mine and everything. And so, or at least that's the way I look at it. And that's the way I understand that even the law would look at it. And so, my kid, I'm talking to her about coming and getting, when they're going to bring Stevie back home, and I basically, I'm kind of like worried, a little excited, and all this and everything because his birthday's coming up. And I'm like, the sooner I get him home, the sooner I can figure out what I need to do to help him, and all this and everything. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the pandemic, and I'm thinking about, I got a huge entertainment center and computer desk that's sitting out on my grandmother's front porch, and I'm like, I will sell that shit in a heartbeat to pay my grandmother back. Plus I've got a dining room table, I've got a couch, I've got this old dresser and chest of drawers and all this furniture and stuff, and I'm like, I will sell everything to take care of what I gotta take care of when it, it's like a life or death situation, and stuff like that. Like, I'm real good about that. And that's even like Stevie, the first time we lived here. He got attacked by a goose. And, because there's geese out here, and he got his side ripped or bit or whatever, clawed, basically, open. And my grandmother flipped the bill, and it was like $250-something, and then he had to go back later because that weekend came and he had an abscess, and I took a needle and sterilized it, and oh God, that thing was so nasty. But he was running such a fever, and he didn't feel good. And so I knew, I was like, if I don't get rid of this abscess, he's gonna, go into like a seizure probably because of the fever before the weekend's over, and like no vet's open on the weekends except for the emergency vet, which is like 25 miles away at least, or at least at the time it was. And so anyways, but I paid my grandmother back that time because that's the time before I met my husband, and my husband gave me some money when me and him were first together, and I didn't use that money. But later on, when we'd moved out and we was living together, I come back, and I'd kept like, I think I had about $150 of my own cash to pay her back with. That was money that I'd saved, where my parents might have gave me like $20 for my birthday, or they might have gave me like $200 because they used to claim my daughter on taxes. So they'd give me like $200 a year to spend on her for her Christmas presents or her birthday presents. And say I only spent $50, this year on Christmas and birthday. And so I'd hold on to the extra 100. And so anyways, it was like 150 my money, and then like I guess 100 of my husband's money. And I paid my grandmother back. But, cause Stevie, I mean, he's, I love that little fur ball. I really do. Like, he's my son. He's grandpa, he's the grandpa of the animals. And I mean, he's just my baby, But, anyways, I let him go. 3 days later, nobody's answering me. Then she smarts off. And then I'm like, listen here, you can't tell me when you gonna bring him home, other than within the realm of it. You can't dictate and be like, I'm going to bring him home in 5 years from now if he's still alive. You're like, no, you can't do that. And so then I wasn't doing it to be a smart ass, but she took it as me being a smart ass. And I was just being factual. I said, listen, that's just like your puppy. The youngest dog we have, which just turned 5, by the way. I was like, your dog, your puppy, has been with me as much as just me and her as it was with all 3 of us when you were home together. I was like, so your puppy's been with me just as long without you as she was with you. And I said, so she's mine, and so my daughter's like, I'm going to block you. So then I go in there to my grandmother, and I'm like, well, they're trying to keep him, or they're not letting me know when they're bringing him back. And I was like, and if they do this, I was like, my parents thought I was done before. Oh, they're going to really know I'm done now. So, my grandmother's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, you need to get on the phone and tell them they need to bring my cat back. I said, because if not, I said, they thought I was done before. I'm going to be even more done than I ever was with them. And so she gets on the phone with them. And that's the thing too, is she hadn't even told me. My cat's done been gone 3 days, and I have no idea when they brought the pet taxi back and went and bought him a new one. I have no idea, because I've been staying back in my room and I didn't hear nobody pull up, so they must have when I was asleep, which is highly likely, concluding I sleep during the day because I used to work 3rd shift for the last 6 months that I had a long-term job before I moved in here. And so, anyways, I was like, you need to call and tell them. And I was like, if they don't do anything, I'm going to call the cops. And I'm going to tell the cops to go pick up my cat. Or I'm going to tell the cops, hey, I'm going to go pick up my cat. So if you show up down there, you know why I'm there. I'm there to pick up my cat. And so I call the cops and I'm like, can you go get my cat? And they're like, no, there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And they're like, I didn't say that, but I'm just like, what? In the back of my head, I'm just like, okay, wait. I'm trying to make sense of all this. This makes no sense whatsoever. Nothing ever makes any sense, I'm just like, So anyways, I was just like, so you're telling me that you can't go pick up my cat? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so can I go pick up my cat? And they're like, well, it's in your best interest not to. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I get my cat back? And they're like, oh, you need to hire an attorney and take it to civil court. And so I'm like, oh, great, there's a pandemic going on. Everything's shut down. Government's shut down. I've never even heard of any animal case anything here ever. I mean, ever. And I'm like, okay, well, I can still maybe call a lawyer or two and talk to them just to see what they say. The 2 or 3 that I got a hold of, that were in their offices, they're like, we don't do stuff like that. I mean, they just act like, who cares about a cat, And it's like, I care about a cat. I care about my cat, I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking in the back of my head. And I'm like, great, I don't know if I'll ever get my cat back. How is this right? And then I'm like, great. So if they're trying to keep my cat, and that's the thing too, is I called the cops after my grandmother got off the phone with my mom. So let me, because I kind of fast forward. My grandmother called and my mom's like, we're not bringing him back. We're going to see about keeping him because that's her daughter's cat. And I'm going to call my attorney. At least that's what my grandmother relayed to me that my mom said. And also that I've been blowing up Ava's phone, which is my daughter's name, nonstop. And I was just like, God, these people are so, and now they're making my kid even, like, my kid has never had a problem being like, Mom, you're getting on my nerves. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, well, you need to go to your room if you want me to stop talking to you because I'm in a talkative mood right now, so go to your room, watch your TV, play with your games, whatever, and let me sit here and let me get a journal and write in it, or let me just sink into a good movie and I'll shut up, And, I mean, my kid has never been like, Mom, never not been one to be able to be like, Mom, stop it, like, Mom, I have my own life to live, Mom, I want to, I don't want to sit here and listen to you, she's always been one that, I mean, that was our relationship, and ever since she's been with them, it's like she's become like them, and so now she's this, Heather makes no sense type person, where it's like, yeah, I do, I actually make perfectly damn logical ass sense. You tell me you're busy. You tell me, you don't want to talk right now. You tell me you have things to do. And I'll back off and I'll leave you alone. But if you just keep sitting there, just keep randomly texting me back. Like, say I send you 5 messages and you send me 1. And I send you 5, you send me 1. And that's the way it keeps going. Then I'm going to think, well, hell, they ain't got nothing better to do either than just sit there and talk to me and answer my questions. So shit, I'm going to talk to them. And apparently I'm a criminal for that. And that's the thing too, is I wasn't even bothering my kid. I mean, if I wanted to, I could have been all up in their personal business, like they'll act like it is. But I didn't even ask my kids, so do you know anybody that's got sick with the COVID-19? How's your friends doing? I didn't ask any personal questions whatsoever, because that's even what was going on when I was going to visitation. I would try to ask my kids, so how's school doing? And how's this going? And how's that going? And this and that. Or I'd try to tell my kid a personal story. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a stay-at-home mom other than going to work. I'd go to work, I'd come home. And when I come home, it was my kids and the pets. So now my kid's gone, so now what do I have to talk about? Work and pets. So I'm sitting there, my kid's like, what are you up to? And I'm like, other than work, dealing with the pets. And then my mom's like, don't talk to her about the pets, and my kid's like, I miss my pets. And I'm like, well, get them. Come get them, But take on the responsibility that if your papaw kills them while they're there, that really is horrible. And I don't want that. And I don't want it to come back on me and be like, you were a bad pet owner because you let your pets go and stay at a house of somebody that you knew or you suspected. You have no proof to show us, but you say from your verbal blah 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 deep a doop a dop da da da, and everything else. I mean, if they want to go dig up a few graves and try to see cause of death and stuff like that, they can do that, but I don't think they're going to do that. And so, I kind of wish they would, but any damn ways, it's just... So, the cops are like, no, and I'm like, well, can I go get him? And they're like, no, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta call an attorney, and so I call an attorney, and they're like, no, we don't do those types of cases. And I'm like, well, how the hell? And so, I don't even know. And that's just like one thing that went on that happened that I was trying to make a video about when it happened. Because it's been, what's today? Yeah, it's been a month ago. It's been a month. And the thing is, too, is his birthday passed on the 3rd. And I believe it was, yeah. The 3rd of April. And the puppy, the dog, the youngest dog we have, her birthday just passed on the 14th. Or 13th. No, what is it? 13th. 13th. And she turned 5. But anyways, he turned 11. And I'm sitting here, and I'm trying to not, be negative and everything. But I'm like, would they tell me? Would they tell my grandmother? Would my grandmother, because my grandmother's, trying to, be herself towards me. And I'm like, no, I have a boundary, I have a boundary and I don't want to be bothered with your panic. I just don't want to be bothered with your panic, like, no. And so I don't even know if anybody would tell me if he passed away. And then that's the thing too, is I've called and I got his vet records and stuff like that. And granted, he ain't been to the vet, in a while for like regular checkup and stuff like that, because hell, even my parents' pets haven't, and we're just a poor poverty people type family. But anyways, so the vet, supposedly, at one point in time, I guess my mom had won them over, or at least that's the slight impression that I got. Very slight, though. And it was like, oh, this cat hasn't been up here since, 2000 and... What was the last time he went up to that vet? 2015 or 14, and then we don't have that many records except for from 2005 and 6, and well, no, not 5 and 6. What would it have been? He would have been born. See, my mind's just everywhere. He would have been born in 2009. Yeah, he would have been born in 2009. And so they're like, oh, we didn't have computer systems, this and that, so we have no more records previous of that. And that really sucks for me because, I mean, you could tell, when, I mean, he got all his shots and stuff at first and all this and everything. I was trying to be the best, that I could, vet care and all that with him. And that's the reason, when he was like 2 or whatever and he got attacked by that goose and I paid my grandmother back and we went ahead and got him fixed while he was under for the stitches for the goose attack, and had to take him back and get that abscess cleaned out and restitched. And I've taken care of many cats. I've had cats that have had to have IV fluids before when I was little and all that. And my mom, she had a cat whenever she was a kid or a teenager, and she left it over at her parents' house. She didn't take it with her when she moved. And that cat lived with her dad for years. And I remember us going and seeing it when I was a little kid. But that's the only cat I knew until I was 11 years old. Like, well, there was this one cat that showed up, and my grandmother kept it, but she only kept it for like 2 years, maybe 3, and got rid of it because it had kittens. And it devastated me. And they wouldn't even let me keep one of those kittens. So the following year, I think, or 2, I every holiday that come up, they're like, "What do you want?" You know, and I'm like, "I just want a cat. I just want a cat. I just want a cat." And so when I was 11, they let me get a cat. But then they only took me to like basically the crappiest pet store to a degree within the realm of the pet stores that were known or well known in this area. And anyways, I got a cat, and that was my first cat, and he ended up being a diabetic, and then we had plenty of cats from there on out. And even though my mom wants to act like I'm the one that knows how to take care of cats, you know, and I'm so perfect or whatever, is like her mentality, I was the one standing there in the vet office right beside her. I'm the one that had to give Salem his shots because he was diabetic. I'm the one that had to give him his insulin. She gave him his insulin a few times, but then she put it off on me, and I'm like 12 years old, you know, having to give my cat insulin shots. And then I've gave IV fluids to my cats before. I've gave them to Salem. I've gave them to Shadow. I've gave them to Sassy. I think I even gave them to Neo at one point in time. I know Shadow had them. And I know Salem did a few times, but he got better each time. And Sassy, I think she had them once and she got better. And I still remember the crack of their skin because their skin's so tough, like cat skin's so tough. But I was a kid, you know, and I was doing that. I was taking care of them. And that's just like me being up when the kittens were born and my mom was asleep in bed. And one of them, I even went and told my mom, I was like, one of them's coming out the wrong way. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? You know, and I'd read all this stuff, you know, because like I was kind of looking into thinking of being a doctor or a vet, you know, and I'd read all this stuff online, and I'd watched a bunch of videos whenever people were asleep at night, you know, of, you know, how animals give birth and this and that and everything. And so, you know, and anyways, I mean, my mom just, but anyways, so they have my cat. And so I'm going to have to end this video because it's an hour long. But that's something that I've been dealing with. And so, and then I tried to raise money on my Facebook to get the money for him to get the x-rays done. And then I found out that I may not even have the account that I linked to it anymore. I got to call and figure that out sometime whenever that, I don't know. It's just one thing after another, but I'm holding on to faith, and I'm holding on to God, you know, and I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping my cat's all right, you know, and that my daughter's doing good, and that everybody's doing good in the family, even though nobody's talking to me, and I only live with my grandmother, and all she wants to do is basically tell her negative opinions of everything all the time. That's just like the other day, I went out to try to go through one of my boxes that's out in this building, and she's like, "Hey, don't forget that there's a well out there, and you could fall in, and, you know, or the dogs could fall in it." And it's like, you know, part of me just wanted to be like, I know this. I've known this every year that I've lived here, you know, and I've told you I've known this. And that's the thing, too, is people are like, "Oh, feel sorry for her. It's her mind. You know, it's the Alzheimer's." Well, apparently she's had it since I was born then. See, that's the thing with this type of generation and some other people, you know, and the guilt and the manipulation and everything is, hey, you know, what do old people do to get what they want, you know? You know, or hey, this old person's being taken care of by younger people. Well, why is that? Oh, it's because their legs hurt. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell people my legs hurt, or my back hurts, or my this. Or how do they get away with, not remembering, not having to worry about things? They say they don't remember it. So I'm going to say, I don't know, and I forgot. And so, I mean, that's the thing with them. It's been my whole life. So when people are like, oh, feel sorry for them, it's their old age, it's their Alzheimer's, it's their old age. And no, I'm tired of feeling sorry for them. I've been feeling sorry for them since the day I was born. Like, literally, I remember being 2 and 3 years old and hearing, I don't think I'm gonna make it no more. I think I'm gonna die, I just can't do this. And I know I'm making it dramatic with the way I'm saying it, the voices and stuff, but my God, 31 years of it, kind of makes you feel that way. But I hope that my cat Stevie's alright, I hope my boy's alright. But I'm going to end this video, and so there's an update with what I've been going through, and I might shoot another one a little bit. Also, I have a picture that I just recently put up. I went walking to the store, which I've been walking a few times to the store, and I took a picture of the clouds, and I just felt drawn to take a picture of those clouds, and I don't know why, because I was like, they're not that pretty. I was like, they're pretty, but they're not that pretty, because I can't get them angled right with the light, because it was too dark in my opinion. So I was just like, oh hell, I'll just take a picture the way it is. Took a picture, and I like to edit and adjust the colors, the different hues, and get the real bright colors and stuff. Sitting there doing that, and it looks like it's Jesus. I kid you not. I just shared it to my Facebook a little while ago, but it looks like it's Jesus just sitting cross-legged, just sitting there. It really does. And the thing is a pastor came and picked me up and took me the rest of the way to the store right after, like about 15 minutes after I took that photo. So, I mean, you tell me, you tell me. But I hope that my cat Stevie's alright. I hope I get him back. And I hope my daughter comes to her senses, and realizes that, she needs to have some forgiveness for her mom. She can't expect for me to be perfect. But I'm going to let you go, and I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.